Oh, is it time to get rolling again? All right, I've got a concept for a video. A good friend of mine asked me when I'm multi-tracking my guitars, why don't I just copy and paste? Save me some work. Well, I'm going to answer that question, but I'm going to take it a step further by showing you a number of different ways you can multi-track your guitars so you can hear the differences between them. I need a coffee. The only thing more interesting than one of me is two of me. Oh boy, that's scary. Anyways, in this example, I've copied and pasted my voice, and the end result is really, it's just a little bit louder. Now, there's a better way to achieve a more interesting effect. To do that, you need to record it twice to get a more interesting effect. As you can hear, simply recording my voice twice, you get some really interesting effects, and that's without any further processing. Now, with guitars, you can use different pickups. You can use different amplifiers. You can even use different guitars. So what I'm going to do, using a copy and paste method as a reference point, I'm going to record some other options and let you hear the differences between them, and perhaps you'll discover a little flavor for yourself. Let's get started. So it goes without saying, whether you're recording your own guitar parts or you're bringing someone in, you need to know your parts. Yeah, I get it. We have our own home studios. It's not like we're paying for studio time, but do you really want to waste that much time? Especially if you have professional aspirations. We got to get it right. Anyways, I don't think it's going to take a long time to show you the differences. As long as you've got some decent studio monitors, at least some decent speakers, or some headphones, I think you'll hear the differences immediately. In this example, I copied the same guitar part to a second track and panned them left and right. Both have the same amp and EQ settings. Now, while those two tracks are panned wide, they don't feel that way, do they? They're ganging up in the middle. The whole idea of double tracking your guitars and panning them left and right is to make them feel really wide. But when you copy and paste your tracks, they still kind of gang up in the middle. In this example, I swapped out the guitar pan right with a different take. All settings for both tracks remain identical. I'm sure you noticed the differences immediately. You get that really wide effect. You know, it's those minor human variances. It makes them sound really, really wide, but there's something else going on in there. Now, if you record direct and you're thinking, well, I've got an unlimited library of amp sims, I can just record it once, copy and paste it, and put it radically different amplifiers on either side, that'll get the job done. Well, why don't we check that out? Okay, that's a little bit better than simply copying and pasting the same tracks. You know, changing that amplifier definitely is the way to go. But what if we replace one of those guitars with another take just so we can hear the difference? You see, again, it's those human variances that create something really interesting. I mean, that wide effect, but that slight variation in the performance just creates something really, really interesting that I just don't think you can replicate using one guitar and copying and pasting. Now, there are going to be occasions where you're inheriting a project and you've only got one guitar. What do you do in that case? Well, I've got a little trick for you. Now, this is not going to replace, recording two different tracks, but if you just don't have another one, you can try applying a very short delay to the guitar on just one of the sides. We're just trying to create a little variation between the two. Again, this is not a replacement for doing it properly and recording it twice, but if you're in a pinch, you can look at sort of changing that second one, try different effects. A short delay sometimes works. Just be careful, you get some of these weird phasing issues, but let's see what that sounds like. I'd file that one under better than nothing. Given the opportunity, you're going to want to record at least twice. But like I said, if you just don't have a guitar player there and you've only got the one track, you can try something like that Again, you're just trying to create a subtle variation with the second one, so it's not identical, it's just very close. If you can randomize that somehow, that would be even better. But just adding that little short delay will at least give you something, but it's not a replacement for double tracking. Now, one thing I haven't touched on yet is the role the speaker cabinet plays in multi-tracking guitars. Now, whether you've got one amp in one cabinet, or perhaps you've got some kind of combo amp, or maybe you're recording direct with something like a 2-notes captor, the role of the cabinet is going to give you so many different options in terms of creating unique pairs for multi-tracking, but I'm gonna save that for a dedicated video. If this is sometime in the future, I'm gonna make sure to link that in the description. If it's not there yet, make sure to like and subscribe. And while you're here, I've got a great Facebook group where we discuss all of these things and perhaps even have some influence on topics for this channel, or a deeper dive with me or direct access to me through my Patreon account. It's all linked in the description. Perhaps I'll see you somewhere. So now that we have established double tracking is in fact better, there's a lot of cool things that we can do to create our own sounds now. If you've got as little as one amplifier and one guitar, you can change your pickup, you can change the amp settings. If you've got 2 guitars, even better. If you've got multiple amplifiers, well, this can go on and on and on. But the idea here is to experiment to see how different pairs of tones work together. Now, for me, when I'm double tracking, often I'm looking to create one big sound. I don't want it to sound like 2 different guitars. I find if I use radically different tones, like a very high gain on one side and almost clean on the right side, when you're listening to it, especially in headphones, it almost sounds like, well, it is, in fact, 2 guitar parts. We want to find tones that blend really well together to bring in some texture and that wideness that we seek in our guitars, and it takes a little bit of experimentation. So what I'm going to show you now, I've got 2 pairs of guitars, and in each case, I'm going to swap out one of the guitars just to give you an idea how you can change up the tone. It's amazing how you can come up with different sounds just by making different blends when you're double tracking. It really is a lot of fun. Now, if you don't have an amplifier and you're using amp sims, you can do the exact same thing. You can still change your pickups. Obviously, you're going to have access to a lot of different amplifiers. We're just looking to create interesting combinations. Now, as I said, for me, in most cases, I'm trying to make a big guitar sound, not 2 guitar sounds. Maybe you want 2 guitar sounds, but if that's the case, maybe you want to consider changing the other part. Really, the spirit of double tracking is just to make guitars sound bigger, but really there's no right or wrong here, but it's a lot of fun experimenting. And like I said, whether you got multiple amplifiers or you're just using amp sims, or if you got one guitar and one amplifier, there's a lot of things you can do. Just experiment with different tones, different levels of distortion, pair them left and right, and see how they sound. Well, there's my little introduction to double tracking electric guitars. But you know what? It doesn't stop there. You've got to EQ those guitars. I've got a whole video about that. I'll link it here at the end. Would love to hear your thoughts on this video. Perhaps you've got your own process. Let me know in the comment section. And if you want to support this channel, the easiest way is to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. If you want to do a deeper dive with me, I'm on Patreon. I have affiliate links. I've got merch. It's all in the description. It all helps the channel, and I really appreciate that. But the most important thing is to check out another video. I've got one waiting for you right here. And remember, you don't need a band to rock and roll. And I look forward to seeing you again in another video.